Welcome to Wax Off. My name is Robina Rayasat and I'm a hearing aid audiologist. I'll be talking through our earwax removal videos, so let's see some wax. This patient, let's call him Gendry. Gendry has had a really hard time with his ears recently. He had an excruciatingly painful infected right ear, which you're seeing on screen right now, after an earwax removal elsewhere where he actually had to stop the procedure being carried out because the ear became too sore for anyone to touch. Alongside the ear infection, he also began suffering with raging tinnitus, which affected his sleep, so he was really anxious to get this wax out. So we're beginning on that same right side that was infected, but he was prescribed antibiotic drops, Otomize, before the procedure, and he had finished his course a week before his appointment with me, so the ear was no longer hurting. Now you can see the consistency of the wax in his ears is very wet because of the Otomize and the oil, and very different from what I would usually see in his ears, as he has very dry skin, scaly build-up. So get ready, this earwax removal procedure is very oily and very messy. I've removed the outermost parts of the wax and keratin, and I'm able to latch onto a main part of the blockage here. But you can see at the tip of the probe that the wax is simply being sucked into the tubing. Eventually I do have victory and I managed to dislodge the remainder of that blockage. But as I'm angling the tip probe to get a better view of that wax, suddenly it gets sucked into the tubing, so it disappears really quickly. I have reversed the clip here so that you can hopefully get a better view of how quickly it goes into the tubing, because if you blinked you will definitely miss it. Back in there to see the levels of wax and what's going on in there. You can see lots of soft wax pushed deep into the ear canal, and now it's actually time to get ready for the messiest part of the procedure. I'm picking up little bits here again on the end of the probe. Another mid-procedure shot here, again to see what's going on, what's happening. Now as I go back in, you can see the wax is literally flying into the suction tube without any real effort. A large piece of keratin at the roof of the ear canal there. And it's obscured a little on the bottom with the wax on the end, but I do still manage to get that keratin layer out. Back in here after an endoscope clean, but the end of the scope has got oil on it again, so we are going back in for another endoscope wiping there. Now as I'm going back in here and I'm removing this residue and wax from the surface of the ear canal, something very odd suddenly appears on the ear canal wall here. It's a yellow, whitish brown mass which doesn't look like a normal ear canal skin, and I suspect this is the beginnings of a canal cholesteatoma. Ear canal cholesteatomas are generally an abnormal collection of cells which, if left alone, can continue to grow and extend into the bony part of the ear canal, and this can actually be life-threatening. They generally do tend to go underdiagnosed and they usually require surgery to remove. And I suspect this is the reason why Gendry had such excruciating pain in the ear when he had to stop the earwax removal procedure elsewhere. Now he has been referred back to the ENT urgently to have this looked at. I'm now attempting to get at the wax on the eardrum. And there is a very small piece of keratin which is obscuring the view a little bit. So I've managed to get that off, which really helps remove a little bit more of the residue from the eardrum, which has come away there. Now, knowing Gendry's ears very well, I know he produces a lot of dry skin. So I'm now going to work on the entrance of his ear canal. And you can see keratin is actually peeling off really beautifully. And that comes away really beautifully. And here's the first freeze frame we have of an extraction in this video which hasn't been sucked into the tube. It gives you an idea of just how much skin Gendry actually produces. More layers of keratin at the periphery. Now, because this was very close to the suspected canal cholesteatoma, it was a little bit uncomfortable for Gendry, but I did manage to remove it eventually. And a few more bits suctioned from the ear canal there. Here I'm attempting to remove the layer of residue in the crevice in front of the eardrum. And it is quite a tricky position. So I'm seeing if any of the other residue a little bit higher on the eardrum will come away. And a little bit has come away there. So that little dip, that's the residue I really wanted to remove because it can stop the eardrum from moving. And sometimes when you remove little bits of keratin surrounding an area where there is wax, it will come away altogether, but it's just being sucked into the tube and none of the residue is removed. So I eventually decided it was time to leave that alone. So here is the final shot of the right eardrum. Lots of residue with an upset looking very red ear canal and a possible ear canal cholesteatoma which needs medical attention. There is residue and wax right in the crevices in front of the eardrum. But these I decided to leave because they were too uncomfortable to remove for Gendry, who was a perfectly still patient, and he was so happy that he had immediate relief from the tinnitus and he could hear so much more better instantly. Now we're going over to the left ear, and you can see immediately from the outset that his ear looks very different. Although blocked, it isn't sealed. So before I started with this ear, I oiled a little more to allow the blockage to almost stick together for better extraction. Immediately, the suction probe picks up the wax, and as I'm pulling the wax out of Gendry's ear canal, the ear canal gets a little narrow here, and Gendry does have a bit of a collapsed ear canal going on, so I rebrace and see if I can get a better angle with it. As I'm suctioning out with the probe, you can see just how collapsed the ear canal is and just how stuck the wax is under the weight of the collapsed ear canal. It definitely wants to come out, it's just not enough area for it to successfully come out there. So I've now gone to plan B, and I've actually asked someone with Gendry to hold open the ear by gently pulling on the pinna, which is the outside part of the ear, and you can see the difference it makes. Suddenly we get the wax coming out, and here is a still, followed by the other side. Here's the final part coming out, very connected, with one large piece of keratin connecting it all. And I've managed to get a still extraction photo here because it suddenly gets sucked into the tube. There you go. Ear is still being held open here, and here's one of the final bits of wax coming out. I really do think this video should have been named The Disappearing Earwax, because I've not seen it go so quickly into a tube, especially since it comes out in a nice large lump and then suddenly gets sucked into the tube. So here's the final shot of the left eardrum. Some oil in the dip before the eardrum, but this will be absorbed by the skin, and a little wax in that same area, but that will stay there as the procedure was quite long for Gendry, and he was just super pleased. He wasn't hearing the horrible tinnitus anymore, and he could actually hear the TV. I think a job well done. Thank you so much for watching. As usual, I appreciate all of your views. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Have you come across a canal cholesteatoma in your personal life? Do you know anybody that's ever had one? Please do share your stories. I would really love to hear them. Continue to like, subscribe and comment, and I will see you in the next one.